What if the easiest way to stay creative was just a post-it note away? Hi there, welcome back to Growing Ambition. This week, I'll be starting a challenge. A tiny challenge. Arguably, the world's smallest art challenge. One drawing, one post-it, every day for a week. So it turns out trying to start a YouTube channel while also keeping up consistently with my sketchbook, it's harder than I thought. And listen, I just made a whole video about how to stay consistent with your sketchbook practice, and then I could listen to a little bit of my own advice. So this week, I'm walking the walk. I'm getting my growth mindset boots on and committing to the bit, or the post-it, to reinvigorate my creativity. This is actually how I started drawing in the first place. Drawing a simple sketch each day in a small sketchbook. I'll show you the sketchbook. So yeah, this is my first sketchbook. It's pretty tiny. Practicing it each day was actually the thing that made me build enough confidence to get better, strive for more, and not beat myself up for where I was at. It was about enjoying the process and taking things one step at a time. And it was definitely about progress over perfection. That's one of the hardest things when you're starting out, is trying to battle the perfection. So why not replicate this process in tiny form? This will be my canvas for the next week. I've never actually done this challenge with Post-it notes before, but I'm excited to see how the small confines of this little tab is gonna affect my art making or affect my my drawing time. I'm gonna be reflecting throughout the week and sharing my learnings, and then after, I'm gonna do an overview of the sketches and what came of it, and summarize how this spiced things up. Also, I'm going traveling this week, so this is going to be a really fun way to still keep up with videos and also keep up with my drawing. So with that being said, let's get into the video. So the first sketch I did was at the ocean. It's very therapeutic, just drawn, watching the clouds go by. I find with mountains, I don't know if you feel this, mountains for me are super challenging as they have all these crevices and ridges, and you're trying to, or at least I'm trying to simplify the shapes, but sometimes there's details, and so it's something that's very foggy for me and something I'm still working on. Also, scenery that have kind of a medium value across the board, like not a varied level of contrast, still really challenges me. So this was probably good for that. Okay, and the next sketch I did, that was on Monday, today. I went out at the end of the workday and I tried to capture the last little bit of light. I was walking, and I just kind of was gonna wait for a scene to strike me. And I came across this field and the moon above and these trees, and I created this. Now, I created the first half outside, and then it got really cold, like chilly. So I got the pencil sketch down outside, and then I immediately booked it back home to finish the pen work. This sketch, honestly, I was not as happy as my previous sketch. I was struggling a little bit with like the balance of things. Also, I think the second day I'm just realizing how small this paper is. That sounds so silly, but it's actually kind of challenging to go back down to a smaller size once you get bigger. Maybe that just shows it can be so easy to get comfortable with a certain ratio, and if you're not stretching that muscle of going big to small, that it can actually be a bit of a challenge. But with that being said, I was able to complete the sketch a lot quicker than anticipated. So that's kind of the trade-off you get when you're doing something small. You can cover a lot of ground quickly, but also there's not as much room for fine detail work or molding things. Okay, so Tuesday. I think I was heading home, late at night from a busy work day, and this was the first day I actually wasn't feeling like drawing. So this was the point where, commitment meets motivation. I just had to find something to draw to meet my promise to myself. It's really hard to stick with a habit when you're not feeling motivation, but that's what I had to do today. One thing that helps me when I'm not feeling motivated, or one thing that at least puts me in a good mood, is Amy Poehler's new podcast, Good Hang. And so that was the inspiration for the drawing that day. It was an interview with Maya Hawke, and she said this incredible thing about her childhood and her parents being so supportive, and she said it so earnestly that I believed it, and it hit my heart, and I gushed at the sentiment. So that is what is behind creating this sketch. Okay, Wednesday sketch. Honestly, this one I did not have that much time to work on. I did not make it a priority. It was done at my lunch break, and I wasn't super inspired by it, but this was another artist that I follow, and I knew it was something simple to draw the back of her, and again, just pencil sketch, but it somehow felt less meaningful than the Maya Hawke sketch. But again, that's just what I had to do to get her done. Okay, and now we're on to Thursday, and it's the evening, we're at the airport, and we had a spare moment before our flight. So what better time than to take out my pen and just draw what's right in front of me. These types of sketches I enjoy. It's a great way to get better at hands. These types of sketches where you draw what's just in front of you, my hand game has immensely increased due to these type of sketches. And now saying that, I'm realizing there's just my foot included in this version of my POV, so disregard all that hand talk. But either way, I think, yeah, I was more in the groove with this one, and I enjoyed it because it was documenting the moment before the trip. Okay, Friday, we made it. Unfortunately, this is maybe my least favorite sketch of the whole lot. We had this amazing fresh passion fruit the second we got to our campsite, and that is also the moment I realized I gotta get my sketch in for the day. And I think a learning from these past few days is that I missed color really, really badly, and so I tried putting color on this toned paper, and well, it looked like this, and I don't know, man. I just wasn't happy with it. But again, ticking the box, staying consistent with the challenge. And funny enough, this realization led me to almost break free and create a bunch of other art inspired by the trip. So here are a couple other images of my travel photos, some of the food and the animals that we saw on the trip, and this felt really fulfilling. So maybe even just sticking with this one habit reminded me of the other stuff or the other elements I was craving. Saturday was the end of the night. We just gone to this incredible tiki bar, which I had been dreaming of for, I don't know, ever. Like, who doesn't want to go to an authentic tiki bar from the 1950s with light up puffer fish? I mean, that's charming. But anyways, we got back at the end of the night, it started raining, and that's when I remembered, gosh, I gotta do this note really quickly. So these are the Blair Witch Project-esque clips of me getting out my sketchbook, and since it was raining outside, I didn't have my actual official sticky pad with me, but I did have a receipt and my pen. So this is what it was. This is what was required. I thought over the day, like, what was the thing that stuck out to me? And it was these amazing light up pufferfish and the quirky quality of the bar and just the love of trinkets. And I loved this sketch, and I think it sparked in me a reminder that I love doing small sketches of moments from the day, and you know, an idea or an experience that happened, or even, yeah, more than an idea, more than like previous sketches, a memory. So that was kind of a eureka moment for me, relearning, re-remembering. It's all about capturing memories for me. And you know, it wasn't perfect, it was wonky and bent out of shape, and it was the way that I drew it. It was only the perspective that I could see from that experience, and that's what made it matter. Sunday, woo! We've made it to the end. This morning it was our second to last day, and it was the full rainy day. Still beautiful, honestly, on Hawaii. There were rainbows, and the green looks so majestic against the misty, rainy clouds. But anyways, back to breakfast, which is where I had my inspiration for my first post. We had this amazing breakfast in the North Shore, waffles, syrup, all the good stuff. And I was hanging out with my partner, and all around us were these chickens. Basically, what I'm gathering from my short period being on the island, it seems like chickens are the equivalent to pigeons over there. They're just everywhere. They're wild. And they're just running free, and I love it. And they even like jumped on our table at some point, and they wanted to come like hang out with us. And so it was that moment that gave me joy, and I thought that this is it. This is gonna be the moment for the day. So I had a reference photo of my partner, but I also had quick drawings from these chickens, and I pulled something together. Again, it wasn't perfect. It was scrappy and quick, just the impression of something and just my perspective, and that's what I loved about it. And it's one of my favorites along with the previous night. So it was nice to end this with some type of conclusion or climax that over time, even though I didn't understand what was happening, this all ended on a really good note. Okay, to summarize, what did I learn from this week, from my mini art challenge? I'd say, number one, you can't force creativity, and some days you're just not gonna want to work. But motivation doesn't often come out of thin air. It's often the action that creates more motivation to continue forward. When I looked at all my sketches, it made me proud to continue on because I knew that I had put in the work to at least have output, to have things to observe and think of. And sometimes you can't force yourself to work, and sometimes the work just won't please you. Sometimes your heart will be in the right place, you'll want it, and sometimes it's just not there. And that's okay. You just gotta keep going, just like I did. And the next point was that the work that I connected with the most was the work that was related to something personal. Something that only mattered to me, a memory, a moment, an experience. And it felt like it doesn't matter what it looks like to anyone else, it just has to look like something to me. So just create work that looks like something to you. And then finally, third learning is imperfect is always better than nothing. Done is always better than perfect. Having something to look back on, to create based on. If I had gotten hung up on some of these posts thinking, oh gosh, this maybe isn't up to scratch. Oh no, like I want this to be just a little bit better. If only I could work on this longer. I wouldn't have got to the other posts. I wouldn't have maybe even tried some of the other options. And that's what I noticed in the beginning of the week. I even accidentally was trying to perfect these things, work on tiny details, when really the quicker sketches were the ones that I connected with and the ones that I was proud of. And that is all I have for you this week. So I'll leave you with these clips from the end of my trip and think about warm places during these winter months. Okay, I'll see you next week.